Yes, Levi, my brother, thank you so much for joining. This is the first one. So chapters 1 and 2, we're touching on this. I guess probably one of the biggest myths on the streets, money over everything. And obviously we're countering that with the truth, which is seeking first the kingdom, God's kingdom.
Yeah.
And so before we get into, I guess, questions that I've got lined up for you, it would be good just to, again, for you to share your background.
My background.
Yeah. And what was life like growing up?
Yeah. Backgrounds wasn't too bad in a way. Everybody has their kind of, we went through this, we went through that. So I kind of standard with it, really. I have no brothers or sisters, anything like that. Just a mum, just me and my mum at the time, which was pretty difficult. Mum was, now we would call it depressed, or she had depression. She'd like just not talk for days and stuff. And where I grew up originally in Mansfield was severely racist. So in fact, it's funny, when I moved to Nottingham, certain words like coon and nig-nog and things like, I didn't even know were racial terms at the time, you know. So it's quite racist in the beginning, then moved to Nottingham and then spent about 20 years in Nottingham before I moved to Sheffield, and then from Sheffield to London. So been around a little bit here, there and everywhere. Lots of adventures along the way, though. Lots of adventures along the way. So,
and we'll get into it. So I guess even just on that, obviously, humble beginnings, what kind of got you onto the streets, on road, and then almost just share how that myth, money over everything, became a thing for you and almost a value system that you live by?
Yeah, I think, well, naturally, again, being with just a mum and she didn't have a lot of monies, and you're getting into that world now where fashion is everything.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think when TNs came out, Shots came out and all these kind of things here. And believe it or not, I remember them, they were like 120 quid.
That's right.
And so there was no way I was getting them.
Yeah.
And then there was another guy at college. He used to sell them, but he used to get them from somewhere.
Vauxhall Market,
somewhere, somewhere, and they would he'd get them in all different colours and stuff like that. And he would always say, "Oh, I've got some," and I could never buy them. And I had one particular guy who I used to kind of jam with, and he had a mum and a dad, and then he had a stepdad, and they all had money. So he used to just have goms. He used to have, and I had nothing. And one day I just went, that's it now, I'm not doing this. So I stopped rolling with him for ages. Yeah. And I got a little job, and I saved all my money. I started buying comms, buying a few bits of clothes, but it just wasn't enough. I was not keeping up. And I really liked a girl, believe it or not. And she was with one guy who was kind of in that world. So I was like, okay, if I get in that world, I'm going to get girls like that.
Interesting. Yeah.
And then the other thing is it was just around anyway. Drugs was just around from the get-go. And so it's very easy to, in fact, to get in that world, you didn't even need money at the time. You could just go to a drug dealer and just say, oh yeah, you say on consignment or on tick.
Yeah.
And buy it from there. I mean, take it from there, really. But how I got into it, how I got good at it, is a little bit different. And that was because just being quite visual around me, I realised that everyone's either selling smalls or they're selling bigs. So I thought, I'm going to sell medium. And I thought, if I just sell to the smallers but get it from the bigs, I'm not going to create too much of an issue to where I'm going to get into a lot of beef and all that. But I'm going to get lots of money. And where it really came something really particular or unique or what, I don't really know how to describe it, was I just passed my driving license, bought a car, and I went to Manchester and I bought loads of garms. I was walking through Manchester. I was on my own and I saw a girl and I was chatting to her. And I ended up spending the weekend there with her. And I said to her, do you know anyone who like smokes weed or takes drugs or whatever? And she said, this person. So she took me to them. I bought some and I went back to Nottingham and I sold. And I realised, no, I've got an outside link. And then I realised, because Nottingham is in the middle, lots of drugs and weapons and that pass through. So I thought, okay, I can either bring it through or get it and then pass it on. And London was great. because London was very expensive. So anything I got up north, I could come to London with anyway. You know, and that's how I got into it. And then after a while, I got into just getting guys like selling it for me. But how I would do it is just make it like they thought they were just selling it just for me, just that one person. So they didn't know I had other people selling for me. I was really, really low key because I didn't want the attention with it.
Sure.
So I was very just like super secretive, which is a bit weird. I know we'll come onto it because the money part then is I had all this money and then I'm so secretive.
Yeah, and that's the key. And that's what I also, I guess, want to touch on, because it seems like it started off with, I guess, trying to keep an impression.
Yeah.
There was a girl, you wanted that attention, and clearly it was a money thing, or the accumulation of it, smelling of money that, I guess, brought that attraction. But then as you were, I guess, in this, as you were going, I guess, a bit more knee deep into everything, and money was becoming, as it were, that the goal, the drive. What did you start to not just spend money on, but what was the what was your, I guess, what was the end goal? What was the prize really for you?
Well, with all the drugs in that, it's very difficult because you don't know if you're gonna get robbed. You don't know like if the house where it's all kept in and all that. So then it became very like keeping money here, and everywhere. And then after a while, it became a thing like I have got to spend it now. What am I gonna spend it on? My mum don't know I'm doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And none of them, my friends know what I'm doing too tough. And so what it was, I would actually I bought a couple of cars. I remember when Tigras came out there, 2-seaters. I bought 3 of them. I bought like a red one, a black one, and a grey one, I think, a silver one. And I would use one for one city, one for another city, one for another city.
Yeah.
And what I would do with the money really is I would buy garments, but then the thing is I couldn't wear them where I was. So when I would go back to the cities where I would like buy drugs or sell or whatever, then I would be wearing what I'm wearing and stuff. I remember one time I thought I looked like a pirate. I was so embarrassed when I looked back because I had this massive gold chain on here, another one here. I had 2 earrings, another earring, I had gold teeth and all the rest of it. And I looked in the mirror and I just thought, it looked silly. I thought it didn't look right. But spending it, being in my late teens, early 20s, is not really much I could. So I remember I fancied a girl in a strip club. And so one time I just threw like 12 grand at her. I just threw it at her and said, dance for me, like that. And she danced for me and I felt like this is what it feels like to be like king of the world kind of thing. It was like a momentary like...
High.
Yeah, and it really was momentary.
Yeah.
Because then after that I was just like, well, the dance was only for like 3 minutes anyway. So I even tried to do the math. So 12 grand, 3 minutes. Do you know what I mean? It's not worked out right, really.
Yeah, okay.
So spending the money, even buying things like, I bought like 5 Averex jackets.
Yeah.
I think they were like 550 quid at the time, right?
Yeah.
No one knew I even wore them. No one even knew I had one because I couldn't wear anything. Or anything like that. And the minute, I think one time I bought some crepes. I walked through the door with some fresh crepes, and my mum told me, she's like, if you're buying fresh crepes like that, then you're paying more to the shopping.
Yeah.
So I was like, bro, I just bought fresh crepes. So imagine if she knew. And it was weird because I stuffed the house with money. We had these massive speakers, these soundbar speakers, and they weren't working one time. And it's because I'd shoved so much money in it, the bass thing wasn't bouncing back.
Wow.
But yeah, it became quite bizarre to me to have all this money and not really be able to spend it. Because again, remember, Nottingham's quite a small city.
Sure.
Everyone's going to notice straight away. And I didn't roll with them like that. Do you know what I mean? I rolled with a couple of guys that weren't really on war or anything like that. We just wanted to go to parties. So I spent money on alcohol. I remember I bought like 3 bottles of champagne. Like they were like a lot of money. I think it was like 3 grand each or something like that, or 2-3 grand each. And I didn't even drink it. I just spilled it off kind of thing or whatever. Yes. So yeah, the money, it was difficult to earn all of that and then not to really be able to use it.
What do I do? Yeah. Do you know what? It reminds me of like just 2 passages literally just jumped out. So one of them, it says the blessing of the Lord makes rich, but it adds no sorrow with it. Yeah. And then the other one where it says, what does it profit a man to gain the whole world and yet lose their soul? And I guess just with what you said, and I think, again, you hit the nail on the head in terms of, because again, I've experienced that to some extent, that sense of you're accumulating, but you're never satisfied.
Oh yeah,
and
definitely.
So I guess the question I'll have for you is like, where did that U-turn come about? When did you start to realize actually your life was made for more than just money, and it actually was made for God's kingdom? How did that happen?
Well, I think God's kingdom, for me, how I came into what I would say God's kingdom was through a very close friend of mine. In fact, my best friend. She was a getaway driver of some sort. Anyway, I can't really say too much on her side, but yeah. And she went away, became a Christian, and then even though I had all this money, I was a bit of a cheapskate at the time. And her birthday was coming up, and she said, "Don't buy me anything for my birthday, just come to church."
Wow.
And I was like, "Oh, that's great. I ain't gonna buy nothing." Bless. And just to go back, I spent most of my money on hotels. I spent a lot of money on hotels because I was with girls. So it's just a way to show off to girls. But I was just trying to wrap my brain around where have I actually spent the money, and it was just on like high flying hotels and stuff. But anyway, moving back, I was just trying to think about that for a second. With the moving into Kingdom and how that all worked out for me was, believe it or not, just giving God a try. Just giving it a try. Outside of what you think you've read or what I thought I'd read or what I thought I'd knew and all those things there. You know, I remember a lady at a bus stop said to me, "Do you know Jesus died for you?" I went, "Sweetheart, I never asked him to. That's his business." You understand? So when I came to Christ, I was actually enjoying life. Yeah. I was enjoying life because I just had all this I had such a secret life that I thought no one really knows about. It was great. Yeah. I could be one person in one city, another person in another city, and come back to my own city and everybody just be like, "Oh, that's just Levi."
Yeah.
And think nothing of it. And then coming to Christ was a very bizarre situation where I was going to do a really, really big drug deal, like a really big one. And I thought, okay, this is going to cause problems because I'm not going to be able to hide this one. And I was planning it out for ages, like if I get robbed, because he's going to be more man than me and all the rest of it, who's going to be there? I was planning it all out in my head. No one knew about this. And I went to church with my best friend, and the preacher was preaching. And I swear to you, he was like he was talking to me. He knew, to the point where I turned to my friend and I went, "Have you told about?" And because I knew this person so well, I knew that when they looked at me, they didn't know what I was talking about. Yeah. So I sat there and listened. I thought, okay, bear in mind, I'm trying to get this girl's number on the other side of church. So I'm there like that. And she's going, 7.
Mad one.
Yeah, amen. And she's like, 8. So I'm trying to get this girl's number now. And I thought, wow, it sounds like he must be talking to me or whatever, but I'm so trying to get this girl's number anyway. At the end of church, my mum's moving house. She was moving house, so she asked me to help her move out because I wasn't really around with my mum at the time. But what had happened was, as I was moving a box, a small New Testament Bible.
Yeah, no coincidences.
Fell out, and I'm completely illiterate. No one knew this as well. I really hid this very well.
I remember when you told me.
Yeah,
I was like,
completely illiterate.
Yeah.
I take a girl out, I just say, "Oh, you just order, I'm just going to go to the loo." Or I take her to a really fancy French restaurant and just say, "I don't speak French," you know. But I could read. I never forget it, Moses. You don't have to believe me, bro. You really don't. But I read the word preeminence in the New Testament, and I immediately dropped it because I was like, I could read it. But then, because I'm an only child, my mum had collected everything from all my school days.
Sure.
I mean, I finished school at 14. I got kicked out. I was horrendous at school. And I couldn't read like the school reports or anything like that to do with school. But I picked it up, and I think in the book of Mark it says, and Jesus called Levi. And I went, oh my days, this is crazy now. I could read it, Moses. Honestly, again, I don't mind if you don't believe me. I don't mind anybody who doesn't believe me. I can only tell you what happened that day. Right? And I could read it. So I read that little bit, what I could read. I couldn't understand it, but I could read it.
Sure.
And I just remember praying to God. I put my hands together and just went, "Oi, big man, if you're real, then show me." And then I went off. And in fact, I was gonna say something then.
Lightning struck.
Yeah, I went to meet a couple of girls. I went to meet a couple of girls at a hotel. Anyway, spent my time there, and then my friend phoned me back and said, "Oh, you where are you? You're supposed to be coming to church." I was like, "What? I've done my church thing. I did that for." She went, "Oh no, because it's my birthday. It's a conference. You have to come back for 2-3 days." I was like, "No, don't I?" So I'm in the shower, getting ready. I go to the church now. And at the end of the church, they have an altar call. Remember, this is a Pentecostal Caribbean church. I don't know anything about this.
Sure.
I don't know. I'm not into God like that at all. And I'm seeing people speak in tongues. And I remember I turned to a minister and went, "You see all of that you're doing? I've got something in the car that will set you, man, up for all of that."
Bruv.
Honestly, and the man looked at me, didn't know what I was on about. But I'm thinking, how do you not know what I'm on about? I don't know what you're on about. This is all mad. But I said, "I've got something lined up for you anyway." I had something in the car for him. Anyway, there was a prayer conference. There was an altar call. And at the altar call now, I went up to the front and minister, I'll never forget his name, but he laid his hands on me, as they call it, and prayed for me. And again, you don't have to believe me, bro. It's absolutely fine. I just had a vision where I saw myself on the other side of a room being baptized. Now, I've been proper drunk and I have smoked some great weed, boy. And I can tell you now, in that moment, it wasn't a high sensation. It wasn't a drunk sensation. It wasn't. It was spiritual, basically. Now I know. Now looking back, I know it was spiritual. It was spiritual, and I would just say that, believe it or not, from that moment there, I literally gave up everything. That's how powerful that moment was.
Yeah, God does that.
And I had a lot of, what is everyone going to think? How is everyone going to react? My mum even kicked me out over it. My mum was not on guard at the time, but I had such an encounter because I had asked for it. That I was blessed to have that. And that was enough for me to say no more. And from there on, just I literally gave it all up.
That's deep.
I gave it all up.
No, I appreciate that. And I guess almost just to close, but on that point, and imagining that, again, you've got a lot of young boys who are like young Levi's listening in to this conversation. What was it about Christ and his kingdom that was so great that you were willing to give up everything? That's what you've basically said. And I think that's the key question. That's the elephant in the room. Like, what is it about Christ and his kingdom that made you give up everything? And we can close there.
Do you know what, Moses? It's not a thing. It was many things. Like, I was happy at the time living life. I really was happy living where I was. I thought, this is a dream to live how I'm living. But when I came to Christ, I remember the church, people at church would call me in the week and say, "Hey, Levi, what you up to?" And I was just shocked at because I'm used to a world where what you on? Like, what link you got? Or you going to this rave or this party? There was always an agenda behind the friendship. A transaction. I like the way you put that. Now, this time there was nothing. It was just like, what you up to? We're going to go out to eat if you want to come, kind of thing, And so that was pretty cool. So there was like a level of real honesty of friendship that was just like, okay, this was a bit weird in the beginning. And then other things like helping me to readjust my thinking about family. What is a family? Do you want a family? What is a man? Do you want to be a man? Are you a man? I think I'm a man because I'm earning more money than sense and I've got this girl, that girl and all the rest of it. But actually, it's not really what a man is it, when we break it down? So I think that for Christ came to me, helped me understand what it means to be a real friend, what it means to be like, I'm a dad now, what it means to be a dad, and what it means to, although I'm now in this worldly system of paying bills and stuff like that, which I thought was for saps, no, it's not like that at all. So Christ has come up outside. I mean, there's the whole spiritual thing I could talk about all day, but just on a human, practical level, the understanding what it means to be a friend and then be a friend was the next level. A friend of mine, I got kidnapped once, and a mate pulled the car back, and I jumped out of the car. He reversed the car, and I jumped on the car, and I looked at him and thought, "Yeah, you are there. You're with me. You helped me," kind of thing. Bro, that friendship didn't last 2 weeks after that. Over money. Over money.
Yeah.
You know? And so it was just the reality of knowing that there are, what you think you have, there's so much more when you look at it. I've got friends in this world now that I know I can call at 4 a.m. if I need to.
Yeah.
And they know they can call me at 4 a.m.
Yeah, of course.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It wasn't like that before.
That's right.
You know, to have the wife that I have. I look at her sometimes even now thinking, how? I don't deserve the wife and the children. Do you know what I mean? So the fact that God, the second chance, I'm going to put it down to a second chance at life.
Yeah.
I think that's what Christ has done for me, giving me a whole second chance, and every aspect of it, I could really say, I don't deserve that.
Love it.
But that's where I'll go.
Nah, appreciate it, bro. Thank you for the honesty. Thank you for the realness. And thank you for that. Yeah, just where we've left off. I mean, the second chance, and that's the truth. God can give that. He's giving that to you. He's giving that to me, and he can give that to anyone. So,
absolutely.
I really appreciate you sharing, bro. Thank you.
Bro. Thank you very much.
Bless.